If you're a creative who's working with clients on projects, then you absolutely need to have a contract. In this video, I'm going to tell you the 3 reasons why, and also give you some advice for putting one in place. Let's start with the most obvious reason, shall we? Having a contract will help you get paid on time. When you issue a contract, it'll include details of the exact amount they're going to pay you, when that payment is due, and also the products or services that you're going to be providing to them in exchange for the payment. When you've got a contract laid out like this, there's no room for miscommunications or misunderstandings about due dates or payment amounts. It's all there in black and white, and you've both signed it. In a good contract, everything will be clear and nothing will be left up to chance. In my contract that I use with my clients, I have a clause that says that I won't hand over the final assets until they've made that final payment. And it also means that the deadline for handing over those final assets is extended by how many days the client is late paying it. So I can't be the one who's late on the deadline if the client hasn't paid yet. Having this in the contract spells it out, and the client knows the consequences for not meeting the payment deadline, and also I'm not left wondering what to do when the client doesn't pay on time. The second reason why you should absolutely use a contract is professionalism. If you want to be seen as a professional in your industry, you've got to act like one. A contract isn't just there to protect you as the designer, it's also there for the benefit of the client. It's an agreement between 2 professionals about how you're going to work together on this project. So a contract should detail the exact work, services that you're going to provide to the client in exchange for their fee, and that way they know exactly what to expect from you, and it's all there in writing. Part of being a professional is dealing with copyright and the legalities of, licensing your work or transferring the ownership to your client, and a contract is a great way to handle this. In my contract, for example, I detail that the client doesn't own the assets until they've paid the final amount. So until they've paid up in full, the work isn't theirs and it still belongs to me. And this benefits the client too, because after the work is complete, they'll have a legal document that says what their rights for using the work are, whether that's licensing rights, where you've agreed that they can use it for a set number of years or for a set, purpose or uses, or whether they own the work outright. Overall, having a contract in place will show the client that you're a professional, that you take your work seriously, and that you're going to take their project seriously. The third big reason for why you should use a contract is process. Do you like how this is 3 Ps fitting together quite nicely? A contract isn't just for the start and the end of a project, it's also detailing what happens along the way. Here's a scenario for you. You've got a deadline to meet with the work that the client set. This is when they need to launch the project, so that's when you need to have the work completed by. You send them a piece for feedback, and you know you're going to have probably a week's amount of work to do after they come back with their feedback on refining things and you're exporting the final assets. If the client doesn't reply to you for several days, do you then have to cram that week's worth of work into the few days before the deadline, or does the deadline get pushed out? Your contract should detail this. In my contract, I have a clause about client feedback that details that I need to receive feedback within 48 or 72 hours, depending on the length of the project. And if the client doesn't respond in that time with their feedback, then the deadline will be extended by the number of days that they're late. Putting this in as part of the contract makes the whole process smoother because everyone knows what's expected of them at each point in time. Hopefully you're now on board and believe that you do need a contract. So how are you going to go about it? Writing a contract from scratch is really difficult. I'm not sure of the legalities involved in that. That is definitely not something I can advise on. What I've done throughout my freelance career is use templates. Using a template means someone else has done the hard work for you, and you can adapt little pieces here and there to suit your needs and your time frames and things like that. In the past, I've used a contract template that I got as part of the Sean Wes Learn Lettering course. But recently I've discovered a really cool site that offers a bunch of different contract templates for pretty much every type of creative work you could imagine. It's called the Contract Shop, and I personally have downloaded the graphic design one to use because that's what my freelance work tends to be. These templates come with instructions for how to use them, and the site owners are wonderful as well. They've been super responsive to my questions, and they'll help you out figuring out which contract is going to be best for you. Personally, I think that a contract template is worth investing in because it's an essential part of doing your business, and it's not like you have to buy a new one for every single project. You can reuse the contract template and update it with the correct details for whichever project you're working on, and it'll be useful for many years to come. So once you've got your contract template in place, you need to send it out for every single project that you do. Even if it's only like $100 project, even if it's only going to take you a few days, It's worth the time to send out a contract because of those 3 reasons that I mentioned before. You might feel just a tiny case, or maybe even quite a big case of imposter syndrome when sending out your contract to a client the first few times. It can feel like, I don't know, you're saying that you're a much bigger deal than you are, or that you don't trust the client or something. That is just absolutely not what the client is going to think, I promise you. Having a contract, like I said, is just a professional part of doing business. Remember, a contract is there to benefit you both, and it's kind of like insurance in that you've got it, and you hope you're never going to have to use it, but if the moment arises, you're really glad that it's there. When you do send the contract through to the client, first of all, it's really good to use a system like HelloSign, DocuSign, so that they can sign it digitally. But when you do send it through, don't just send it with no explanation. I find it's really good to detail a few points in the email so that they've got the gist of it. So I basically send it through saying, here's the contract, it details that you're going to do this, I'm going to do this is how much it's going to cost, this is when it's due. Like, put those main points in as some bullets, tell them to read over it and sign it if they're happy. So I hope now you feel a little bit more confident and know where to start with putting a contract in place. I know it can seem like a big scary business thing to do when you're just getting started, but if any money is changing hands, you absolutely need a contract. I'll leave a link in the description to the contract shop so you can go and check that out and see if there's a template that fits your needs. Like I said, I think it's worth investing in, and I also think it's definitely worth investing the time in setting one up as part of your creative process. Okay, thanks for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.